The book that I'm reviewing today is actually my favorite series. This is the third book in the series. It's called Mage. The series is The Immortals by Tamora Pierce, not to be confused with the popular one by Cassandra Clare. This is an entirely different series. It takes place in the world of Tortle. And to explain what happens, Tamora Pierce wrote 4 books called The Song of the Lioness. The Song of the Lioness focused on Alana, John, and George. They were the 3 main characters. At the end of that quartet, some years passed, and then she wrote this quartet, which is about Viralidane and Numair. And you still see some of Alana, who I will tell you did make it through her own book series, and you still see some of the other characters who survived Alana's book series, because a lot of people died at the end. But this one, which is the second quartet in the world of Tortle, is my favorite. And I think part of the reason that's my favorite is because it's high fantasy, higher than what Alana's series was, because in this series a whole bunch of magical creatures have broken loose, and you see the gift has a much stronger presence than what it was. It's not all about sword play and testing and the gods and who's going to become queen. It's about the immortals that break loose. And immortals are, they call them lesser mortals, and they're creatures that can only die if they are killed by humans or disease. No, I think they cannot die from age or disease. They have to be actively killed by humans or other mortals or what have you. But Viralidane is something that's called a wild mage. And the wild mage is basically natural magic. It's the ability to speak to animals, it's the ability to transform into an animal. She can heal them, she can sense them wherever they are. And the reason that she has this is because, spoiler alert, she's not half deity. And then her mentor is Numair Solomon. I hope I'm saying his last name right. He's one of the most strongly gifted in the entire world. He's one of the 7 black robe mages in the entire world of Tortle. But he opts to train her when he finds out she's brimming with wild magic. She, in the first book, leaves home before the start of the novel because some bandits killed her mom and killed her grandfather, and her village hunted her down. And she runs into Una. I think that's how you say her name. Anyways, she runs into this woman who hires her on to help out with the horses, and that's where she goes from Gala to Tortle. The first book is how she helps train the riders and how she becomes more widely accepted by the people that are in control of Tortle because they're so much more tolerant of differences than Gala ever was or than Carthag is. And as she gets accepted by Alana, she gets accepted by King John, and she gets accepted by Numair. The second book is about her and Numair. They're going to this little kingdom, and she discovers a lot more of her power in that little kingdom. There's traitors there, and she and Numair and this young lady called Mara expose the traitors for what they are. And there's a war brewing between Carthag and Tortle. The third book is all about the peace talks between Carthag and Tortle, in which she and Numair go to Carthag and they're helping out with peace talks. It's called the Emperor Mage because literally Carthag has an emperor who is a mage. You'll see a bird in most of the covers because he's really into his animals, and that's the reason that he likes Viralidane so much, is because she can heal them and she heals his birds. She actually ends up making an enemy out of said emperor, whose name is Ozone. Anyways, she ends up making an enemy out of him by the end of the book because she flips out when he kills Numair. And the fourth book, the war does break out. The emperor gets replaced, but war ends up breaking out anyway. But it's not between Carthag and Tortle, it's between the Carthag rebels, Skara, and a couple other places end up going to war with Tortle. She ends up in the Divine Realms when something tries to kill her, and her father drags her into the Divine Realms. And so it's all about trying to get back to Tortle to help out her people. But it's really interesting. I think the reason I really connected with it is the main character has curly dark hair and blue eyes. And when I started reading it, we were around the same age. And I really identified very strongly with her because she didn't start off with a lot of friends, but by the end of it, she was accepted by these people that she really, really loved. And I've always had a thing for tall mages, tall know-it-all mages, the ones that, they tug at their nose or they kind of tug at their hair a little bit when they're discussing things, and they always use these really big words that nobody else understands. So you have like Talmain from the Enchanted Forest series, you have Numair from this series. There's a couple other ones, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But I've always been attracted to that type of character, and that's who her mentor is, and her best friend. Mage is a sorcerer, and depending on the book you read, they have different qualifications. So if you're looking at D&D, a wizard is somebody that uses magic based off a book. A sorcerer is somebody with ingrained magic, alright? And a mage holds to both classifications. So you can be a wizard or you can be a sorcerer and still be considered mage. In Tortle, wizards and sorcerers are the same thing. They're all people with the gift. So are mages. Mages are just, it's another name for it. I met this author
No.
I did. I met her at Dragon Con. I was so psyched because when I went there, I didn't know who was going to be there. And on the car ride up there, I remember telling Frank, who is a friend of my mom's, I remember telling Mr. Frank, like, the only thing that I really want to do is if Tamora Pierce is there, I want to meet her. And he actually looked up, he's like, oh, you mean this lady here? I was so psyched. And my friend Megan, who's like a little sister to me, she and I stood in that line for like an hour and a half. And she was the very first celebrity that I ever really met. I cried. I literally cried when I met her. I was so excited. The thing is, I didn't have any books for her to sign because I didn't know until I was already up there that that was going to happen. I didn't even really know until I was in line to get her signature. But when I got up there, Megan got this little card signed because Megan was like 7 years younger than me, so she's more who the books were geared towards. By the time that I met her, I was like 18, 19. But I ended up getting one because Megan got one. And she let me take a picture with her, which I have on my computer. And it's a terrible picture of me, but it's also one of my favorite pictures because Tamora Pierce is like my favorite author in the entire world. And I was, like I said, I identify with this character so much that it helped me through some rough patches, it really did. And I go back and read them whenever I'm feeling stressed out or whatever because it helps me feel better. It helps me realize that anybody can be accepted, anybody can be loved, anybody can be a hero. That's the thing. She was this little girl from this tiny town who was the bastard daughter of this woman. Within a span of 4 years, she becomes one of the most notable heroes in the land of Tortle. And I really like that. And like I said, when I met the author, I tried to explain that to her, and midway through the explanation, as I'm about to do now, I ended up crying, trying to tell her how much her character meant to me. Anyways, that's my favorite one. It means a lot to me.